So, continuing the reading of Eating Animals, it's getting a bit more and more intense each time we read on. From having thousands and thousands of chickens stacked up and down, to like just hearing about this horrid stories of how pigs and cows are treated at the slaughterhouse, it just creeps up on you worse and worse. And it's getting pretty intense. This chapter I just read had started with an interesting story about how Paradise Locker Meats has at the back door a painting of a cow running away, like the back of a cow that's running. And so here, Foer explains what exactly is going on in that picture. Apparently, a few years before that was painted, there was an incident with the cow that ran away from the farm. It didn't just run a couple of miles or just try to get away. No, it was like, as Foer said, it was some cow, and she managed to cross roads, trample or otherwise disregard fence, and eluded the farmers who were searching for her. Eventually, she even got to the Smithfield Lake, which was set next to this Paradise Locker Meats, and she actually swam across the lake, all in a desperate attempt to get away from her, impending death. It sounds a bit like a crazy story or maybe the beginning of some type of joke, but in truth, it's quite a tragic idea. Imagine that, like a cows that you usually just imagine in their lazy state, eating grass and all, running for miles and swimming across a lake, all in attempts to get away from a place, like from this place that terrifies her so much and terrifies so many animals so much. And reading on, this Paradise Locker Meats is actually like a pretty good place, a humane workplace where eating animals isn't taken out of dimension and is done the natural way it should be, as like simply raising animals and killing them for the purpose of eating, but not for the purpose of mass production and all that. It's a small place where they do a lot of things to make sure that the animals are taken, have to suffer the least in this process of eating. Because once again, eating animals isn't what's bad. It's bending nature and mistreating other animals and causing their lives to be so much pain for our selfish wants. So Paradise Meat Lockers is sort of against that bit. So that also gets to me. If this place is more humane, as we call it, and even so, a cow runs so much and does so much to get away from that place. Imagine the cows that are in situations that they can't get away, that those intense hells for them, where they're packed next to hundreds and hundreds of animals and just mistreated and left there to suffer until their death day. Imagine those animals. If this is our humane way to treat animals and there's already cows in such desperation to get away, I can't even picture how the other cows, pigs, chickens, every animal is in their in those extreme situations. I just think it's absolutely insane. Going back to Paradise Meat Lockers, here it actually says that Foer asked how it is that they humanely treat their animals and humanely kill them. It's actually interesting that they have, what they say is that when they kill a pig, they want to make sure that before they do it, it's unconscious, or that they don't blink anymore. So they shock them with the thing that renders them unconscious, and then they hang them up and and bleed them out. So this, it sounds fine. I mean, it sounds like the only moral way this would happen. Who would ever think about slitting a pig's throat while it's still completely conscious and putting it through that slow, agonizing death? So yes, this it seems like this is such a unique place, so great for them to do this. And yes, it's great, but it's also irrational to think that there's places that don't do this and just go to the extreme of killing them in such a torturous way. They also say that if, for example, everything malfunctions sometimes, so that they had times where the shocker did malfunction, but then they would then they had what they called the bolt knocker, and I wasn't really sure what that was, so I looked for a picture, and so here it is. It's like a little tool, which apparently, if once the thing doesn't, if the chakra doesn't work, they put it against the pig's head and then paralyze them like that. Or, and so, well, yeah. So as I repeat, this is like what we see as completely moral and humane isn't the rule. It's the exception. The rule is simply killing however way they can, the cheapest way they can to feed this mass market that doesn't even care about being humane anymore. So that's like what's most impacting me about this book. How it's really, we're realizing that things that we wouldn't consider like ever doing if we were put in this situation, but we're accepting that and also taking part in that by not doing anything to stop these mass productions of items and of food like that. So yeah, it's really interesting, and so well, that's all for now.